My name is Lori Clark Horton. I am the owner of LACC Child Care Academy 1, 2, and about to be 3. I'd like to thank Deborah for inviting me to be her guest host this evening. This is a very, very disturbing case. This case is making news worldwide. The little girl that you see smiling and happy and looks like she's saying, hello, everyone to the world. I can't wait to meet you. Well, unfortunately, this picture is very deceiving. This little girl was murdered by her auntie's boyfriend. This is going to be a sad case for some to even hear. It's going to be really disturbing, but I would advise any single parent with children or just parents with children, even just family members, please try to stay on and listen to for the history of this story. According to our Kim Worthy, our prosecuting attorney from Wayne County. This little girl actually was 13 years of age. She had been, she's presumed now to be dead. I think the death date that they're giving her is January the 9th, 2024. And this was reported 9 months ago to the Detroit Public School System Police, but not the police, the Detroit Police, which it should have been right away. So we're gonna let Deborah let you chime in, and I will come back to you and let you know some more interesting facts about this case.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Noni Lovechild, author and poet. My book is entitled "A Voice from Third World America," and I hope we can, give the information that will, bring some closure. Without the body, I know it will not be any closure for the family. But this is a statistic that is happening in our community. This is one case of millions. Thank you.
I'm Keisha Lewis. I consider myself an advocate for the youth. I am also an overcomer. I never say survivor, but overcomer of molestation.
As I was saying, and thank you, ladies, for sharing that information, because it helps women, a lot of women, children, everybody to know that they're not alone in the world. It didn't happen to me. I thank God, because I was surrounded by, couldn't go no place or do anything, but I reached my love out to you, the both of you, for even being able and strong enough to share that information, because a lot of people would not. NaZiyah was, they think that at the age of 22, that her auntie's boyfriend started molesting her. And then Kim Worthy, our prosecuting attorney from Wayne County, stated today that this, on February 22nd, it was reported to the Detroit the Detroit police. However, the mother and the auntie knew that this man was a child molester. She knew he had served 10 years in prison for child molestation and abuse. Yet she let him come into her home where her niece resided, along with her own children. I understand from the cousin of NaZiyah that there was a young girl in the house as young as 11 years old. He went, when she went missing on January the 9th, she didn't come home from off the bus. It was assumed, it was allegedly he met her at a hotel room, and that was the last time that anyone knew of her whereabouts. And this is so disturbing, because he not only was molesting her, he actually got her pregnant. She was pregnant, and when they found out that he was trying to find ways to abort the baby, like having her drink antifreeze and other several, any kind of way to abort the child that he possibly could. So it is alleged that on January the 9th, that he more than likely took her life, even though a body has not been found, they do know that they have an overwhelming amount of evidence that he was the last person with her and that a murder took place. So,
I do want to play a little bit of the press conference from the Wayne County prosecutor, but you said something very interesting about the aunt was aware from according to the cousin, he did tell her his history. And then I don't know if the family started to notice some things and looked into his background and at what point they became aware. But our question tonight is, who failed this child?
absolutely.
Who failed
And
this little girl?
Laura and Pam, I would like to clarify. I think she was 13, so they think it started around 11.
Hmm.
Oh
10
yeah.
and 11.
Yeah, around 2022. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
2022.
okay.
Yeah, and then when he did his arraignment on Friday, they added more charges for these other cases, right, Lori?
Yes,
Uh,
they did.
for other children,
Yes,
including his own biological child that
yes,
started at age 8, I believe, and he actually started penetrating her at age 10, his own biological child. And then the 4-year-old, who I believe is age 11 now, that was the child of another girlfriend, he gave the 4-year-old chlamydia.
chlamydia. Yes, yes, he did.
So it's a very interesting thing. So I think um, in terms of reporting, let's deal with reporting because I think it kind of starts there in terms of um, was this reported? Was there no, because according to the family, there were calls made to CPS with no
Yes,
help.
yes,
Um, then, of course, the last day that that NaZiyah was seen on January the 9th, um, the family claims that they reported her missing to the school the next day, and but the school didn't report it to the police until sometime in February. What was the date in February, Lori?
the 24th, February
The
24th.
24th of February.
Mhm,
So
February.
what in the world happened? And Keisha, I think you could help us understand the process of how schools operate and what are they required to do, because I don't understand why they would not be uh, have some type of liability here.
Absolutely.
So I can interject and let me just uh, give like a warning that the process changes a lot. So from my stint with the Board of Education, um, if a parent calls in and reports something to the child, it is the responsibility of the school to follow the timeline. So the umbrella of which the child was the responsibility of the school. So if she left the school building, she got on a school bus, got off of the school bus, right?
Right.
That ends the responsibility legally of the school. Okay.
Mm.
So from under the roof of the school building on a school bus, that's still the school's responsibility. But once she exited that bus and she was not in any type of danger or that anybody could see, now the school legally has no more responsibility for that child, right? Now, where it gets a little murky is if the parent called the school the next day and said this child never made it home, then the school at that point should have made it's several types of reports that you're supposed to make, right? So the first one, if a parent calls and says, my child didn't come home from school, our job is to follow the timeline from the time that she was released from our responsibility, right? Then we are to make a report to our own DPS police force. We have social workers and child social workers within the under the umbrella of the public school system, and then go from there. Someone should have called, visited the home, or something as within that 24-hour stint to see if the child made it back home. If there was not a physical body of the child, or she didn't make it back home, it's just like if you reported her missing to DPS. To Detroit Public. I'm sorry, to the department, the police department. You have to physically bring the person in to take the missing report off, right? And it's something similar to that when it comes to the school. We actually have to physically see the child in order to take a missing report off. So that means that a few reports were not made or were neglected to be made within the 24 hours. There's no way that a child is missing and they don't turn it over to the police department a month later. There should have been 3 days later, she wasn't in school, so there should have been an absence report made, right? 5 days later or 10 days later, there should have been an officer or someone alerted to go out to the house and see where this child is, because they have not been coming to school. So it's a whole bunch of things that's a little gray in that area.
Yeah.
I feel that it's a lot of gray areas, period, because the first step for me would be, why is a child molester to spend 10 years in prison in a house with children, period? That's the first area of concern for me. I mean, you have to register. The family members said that they alleged that they knew that this man had been to prison for 10 years for the same thing. In fact, Kim Worthy, a prosecuting attorney, she stated that he preyed on women. He really, really went after women with girls, with young children.
Right.
So my first step, before we even get to school, why is this man in the house with this child?
Yeah. Well,
and if I can interject also, the historical aspect of this, I was reading an article online. Black women and girls are stereotyped as promiscuous. So a lot of times nothing is done because we heard the sayings growing up, that person is fast or she wanted it. So a lot of times it is swept under the rug. As I stated, I grew up in the foster care system and I like to want to say, an overcomer of sexual abuse. And I reported it to a school. They did not do anything. I saw a 12-year-old pregnant in the foster care system, and this is just not in the system. It's just Black girls. I say 1 in 5 Black women or girl is raped, and 1 in 15 don't report it because they are victimized by the system itself, sometimes just by reporting sexual abuse. After moving from Detroit here to Virginia, a lady called me who's in the Navy now. I won't mention her name. She didn't give me permission, but she was placed in a foster home after I left. And she told CPS, she told her social worker that the foster father is molesting her. They call her a liar. Why are Black women and girls not believed? It is our men, uncles, brothers, and also the foster mothers or the mothers and aunts, biological or foster, to protect girls. And when it comes to rape and boys.
I've heard those accusations, Deborah, before, that black girls are, or girls are, when they're acting older, like they're fast. That's an old word. They're
Yeah,
acting promiscuous. They're acting this way or that way. Let it be known that a child is a child. A
yeah,
child is a child. If they walk fast, if they walk with a twist, if they take off a shirt, whatever, a child is a child.
that's right.
Well, not only that, if you're seeing those type of behaviors in children, those are outcries to something else is going on,
Mhm,
because whatever a child mimics or does is learned behavior,
Yeah.
mhm,
right?
mhm.
So
Absolutely.
a lot of times, grown-ups, and I could say within my own past or history, they didn't recognize the signs,
Mm-hmm.
right? As well as, I believe that the shame and all of that sits or tells me that that type of behavior sits comfortably with that family. So it's something within their family history that they've
Mm-hmm.
been used to that type
Okay.
of behavior, right?
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
nobody to be uncomfortable or upset or inquire about this child having these types of behaviors, because it had to be something shown.
Mm. And let me say this to that point, because there was an interview done by the great aunts saying that, because apparently, allegedly, the NaZiyah lived with her grandmother. To my understanding, the mother was killed in 2021, and allegedly, as her mom had been arrested as a part of a prostitution ring. Now, that is not, I can't verify that information at this point, but to my understanding, uh, that is what happened at the age of 19 with her mother. And then at some point, uh, I think a couple of years later, the mom was killed. The father was estranged from her for 8 years. When they interviewed the father, who has now since passed away from congestive heart failure this year, he said that he had been when they approached him about NaZiyah being missing, he didn't even know where she was. He had been looking for her for 8 years.
Mm.
So there's a lot of moving parts here, but I want to say this: when they interviewed the aunts, um, the great aunts, I believe, they said when they approached their mother, the grandmother where she lived, about concerns about the man, we now know his name to be Jarvis Butts.
Mhm.
Um, the grandmother supposedly said, "I don't get involved with my children's business." So this is so this is a whole problem, right?
That's more than a problem.
Yeah, that's a whole problem,
We try and teach our children now, if they see something, to say something, but they're
right?
follow suit. The shame or the whatever ism that follows molestation or rape, um, that the onus is put on that they're not good parents or they're not this. The whole objective is to save the child. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
I
Yes.
personally don't know a grandmother who would have made that statement. If that statement is true, I don't know a grandmother,
Yeah.
period,
Come on now.
that would make that statement after their grandchild stated that.
Callous.
Yes, that's crazy to me. That's almost unbelievable.
So that's
Yeah.
what he
And
believes.
as a community, we are really comfortable seeing older men with younger women. Let's look at the R. Kelly and Aaliyah situation. Um, they said with this child that she when she stopped by after school, she got off the bus, she stopped by his auto shop, and him and one of the employees took them somewhere, and later he checked in the hotel. We see a grown 40-something-year-old with a 13-year-old. I guess we assume it could be his daughter, but as a community, we just got so comfortable with that. The color purple is not new. I mean, that was our legacy far as girls were, with older men. And I think we look at R. Kelly, he got away with it for so long that it was, even when they was wearing matching outfit, no alarms went off.
Right. I looked at, and I don't know how many of you all knew this, but I looked at the age of consent. At one point in time, in some states in this country, the age of consent was age 7. And so, and I looked at here in Michigan, it is 16 here in Michigan right now. I had no idea until this case came up. And so this is important. People need to know that now they can't smoke, they can't drive, they can't buy liquor,
vote,
but they can't vote. But our legal age is 16. I couldn't believe it.
Was that age recently changed, or has that been changed? Because it used to be younger than that.
Oh, really?
Used to be younger than that.
I just looked it up yesterday.
Well, and
a lot
of that type of legislation is done behind closed doors because it is focused on the appetite of men, right? We know that young girls were given as brides, even back into indentured serving. We ain't gonna even go to slavery, right? But indentured servitude, a lot of for them to get out of that, they promised their daughters to their masters or to their owners so they could get out of slavery, right? Or servitude. And so those children were given over 8, 9, 10 years as brides.
But being in my line of business, I'm going to say I see a lot. I see a lot. And parenting skills come into play with a lot of this too. Parenting skills. Our culture, I don't know if something's gone wrong and we just don't want to face the facts on things, but I know from what we call big mama and granny, you went to school on the bus. Other children saw, they knew you were getting on the bus. You got off the bus. And if your parents weren't home, somebody else was still there to meet you. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just kind of listening to all of this, but there's no excuse. We can't make excuses. The only thing I see with my own eyes on a daily basis right now is parenting skills. You see little girls coming into early childhood development centers with their hair dragging the floor like their moms.
Yeah.
You see little girls in the summertime coming to school with their shorts so tight that they can't hardly walk. Now, this is not to give anybody permission to touch their bodies, but sometimes parenting skills can mislead other people and cause situations to happen. So I leave it. You go to the club on Friday night and you bring somebody like a Jarvis Butts home with you that Friday night, and you have to go to work at 8 o'clock that morning, but you leave him there with your children. So we have accountability has to be placed somewhere. Absolutely. Somewhere. This girl is a happy little 10, 11-year-old girl that somewhere her innocence was taken, and everybody want to place the blame, or you didn't call the police, you didn't call that person. But I'm going to continue to go back to, why was she in the house with a person that spent 10 years in prison for raping children? I mean, I don't understand that. They can't even go near a school. They can't go. They can't be in an apartment building where children are. Why was this man allowed to be in the house with children?
In the home.
But that you said it. But you just said it. He was allowed to be there. And when you say parenting skills, we know that we have a generation and a half that don't have it. They don't have it.
And we also know that there are, I think, Laura, some of you all grew up in stable homes with structure, but there are throwaway children out there. And
Yeah.
the accountability also with the parenting skills is also to, teachers, like you said, reporting it, CPS, when the kids do speak out. But I agree, there is accountability with parenting skills. I think that everybody should have to take a test before they're allowed to have children.
Yeah.
I know a parenting class, something.
But somebody knew that man was in the house and was not supposed to be there, and it was more than the auntie.
They all knew. They all knew.
It's a lot of. This is about to be a going downhill effect. A lot of people are about to be involved because
they should. They all felt this baby.
Yeah. He was not supposed to be in that house. Where was his probation officer? Where was his parole? Or whoever you call those people? Where were they?
Let me say that. Well, a couple things. When you say that, Lori, the worst thing you can give a child predator is access.
Absolutely.
Now listen, let's call this thing a thing. And it's not to say that the family didn't love this child. None of that. It's not an indictment in that regard, but it is an indictment on pure D failure. Yes. Like you said, before you even get to the police, the CPS, the school, what has been going on in this home? And then the cousin said this in an interview. She said the text messages from the phone data that the police pulled only show evidence of sexual abuse with this particular child, NaZiyah Harris, since September, I believe, 2022. But she said she thinks he's been around longer because the oldest child that he has with her aunt is 11. So,
and what is he doing to that?
No telling how many years this guy has been around.
Right.
But but then when you do, if they did call CPS or the police, him having the history that he has and being a registered sex offender, why wasn't he picked back up?
Was he registered to that address also?
I don't know.
But was it the cousin or the aunt that stated that they found out during an interview that he was imprisoned for raping children?
Right.
So, and she said
2005 to 2014.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
2005?
Yeah.
And he in the house with children?
Yeah.
And they can't even come to my facility to even pick up a child.
Wow.
They can't they're not supposed to go to a public park.
Right.
But he can live in the house with this lady and the children. And she was, from my understanding, listening to Kim Worthy, they knew that this man, again, I can't say it enough, had been in prison for raping young girls. This is nothing new. So if the aunt liked it, why didn't the family or somebody go say, hey, look, this man been in jail before? And like, Noni, I get it. Maybe some of us was a little sheltered. Maybe I'm just kind of like irate because I just think that there's some neglect going on somewhere around there too. A lot of neglect. But but like you said, like Noni said, she was in the foster system, told people what happened to her, and they chose not to do anything about it. And it's probably still happening. So some accountability is going to have to start, and it's going to have to start with people like Noni, who knows the system, been in the system, even like you said, placed in positions you didn't want to be in, trafficked. I can't imagine that and have my sanity. That's why my whole heart goes out to you. But I think that you probably know, Noni, it's some missing pieces here.
It's holes in the story. It's a lot of holes in the story.
Right.
It's so much failure and dropping the ball, and all of, I mean, like it's just unbelievable
Yes.
the amount of neglect. This child didn't stand a chance. Like
She
it,
didn't
it
stand a
just
chance.
it's like unreal that this this level of callousness. The aunt said they called CPS several times.
Yes, and they did
So
not do
when she
anything.
said
And the
that,
police.
and you're making the point that is it still happening? She said they called CPS several times
And the police.
and the police,
Mm-hmm.
and no, I don't know if she said, I can't remember if she said there was no response or if they, I don't know what happened. I guess
There
they
was no
didn't really
response. If
see
I
it or
listened
did
to
not.
her correctly, she said no response. Nothing was ever done about
Yeah.
it. I actually wrote it down because I couldn't believe it. So I see some of the comments are saying that this happens every day and this happens all the time. But we have to find a way. If I know that there's a person who's been in prison that's coming to my facility to pick up a child, you're not going, you can't pick this child up. Period. At all. Put it on your children's records. I mean, the school, I don't blame, I mean, I don't see any fault with the school thus far. As far as the child getting off the bus, going into the school, leaving the school, getting on the bus, going, they like someone stated, they probably thought they were going home. The child was going home. They didn't know
And
what she
Lord,
was doing.
yeah, you made a point, not to interrupt, about parenting skills. That's so important. And I guess, Deborah, that's another show with the aunt dating this man, knowing that he had did time for child molestation. So the next show is that self-love with women. It's okay to be alone. It's okay not to have a man.
Come on, say
Because,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
go
okay
ahead,
not to have
Noni.
your daughters around
Yeah,
rapists.
being careful who we have our children around. And I made mistakes myself as a parent, but we have to, correct, be accountable. It's okay. That's another show about self-love, self-respect, and it's okay to not be in a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an important piece. I think I don't have any children. I have helped raise children, but I don't have any children of my own. But I can say that even when there was a time where my nieces and nephews lived with me when they were growing up, and I did not, I was always like especially because two of them were boys or whatever, they would get mad if I brought a date over anyway. They would. My nephew told me one time, I want to fight him. I said, "What he do?" But yeah, so it is definitely a issue. Women a lot of times are pressured to have a man, even to have children and things like that. I know not having kids, sometimes people would try to make me feel I was a half a woman because I couldn't carry a baby through term and things like that. And I can laugh about it now at 55, but at 25, it wasn't funny. So, so these are issues that we as women, we need to deal with this stuff because you're gonna have little NaZiyah Harris's, and we have them already. This case is being highlighted, but we have to know that this is not the only one.
No, it's
And
not.
we, as Deborah, I look at it like this: as older, women, mature women, I look at it like we have to mentor these young girls and let them know that it's okay not to have a man in your life. If you right now, it's okay not to have a man in your life right now. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to find yourself, because when you go bring a man in the house and he start molesting your child, something's wrong with you. You're
Yeah.
not okay. So how can you protect your child when you're not okay? Because I don't want to blame any of this on a child, any of this. I am so sorry. This starts with the parent, and it starts with who you let in your house up under your children. You cannot bring all the uncles in the world home to your house up under your children.
Uncle
There
Dad.
can only be so many uncles, okay? And it's not fair to these children. I live it. I see it. I see little girls come here that I have to report because I'm a mandated reporter. They can't even walk, barely can take 2 steps. Automatically, I see it. I'm reporting it. I mean, you don't get a second chance with me. And
Right.
if we know something like that is happening, there is no second chance. You tell and tell and tell. You tell the whole neighborhood because somebody knew that this man had been to prison. And I'm gonna stick with that. And I think that's where the Kim Worthy and them need to start. And she did state that it would be some more arrests, if I'm not
I think,
mistaken.
yeah.
And I think it's going to be a whole lot of arrests because if this little girl had a cell phone non-monitored, who paying the bill?
Yeah.
You can't look at her text messages. You can't pick up her phone. You
Yeah.
don't the bill come to the mama's
That
address or something?
that is so not uncommon these days. It is in my years of dealing with, and I dealt with high schoolers, junior high and high school, and most of my time was spent with alternative. And I always said this: it was not a troubled child. Never met a troubled child. I only met a child that wasn't loved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. These kids, or these parents. Let me. I'm gonna back that up. The onus is on the parents that give all of these things to the children, and you give them too much power beyond what they can handle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm
Oh
old
yes.
school. Not only am I old school because of the things that happened in my history, I was very, very sensitive. My kids couldn't go nowhere, couldn't like it was no way. I had to know the mother, the father, who was in the house, all that kind of stuff. And even then, if I wasn't there or it wasn't supervised, they're not going. Right. And one of my things used to be, if I can't see over there, you're not going over there. Right.
That's good parenting skills.
Not going. My daughter now, who my grandson is 11, and he said, Gigi, that's too much. No, it's not. I'm actually not giving you everything that I did with your mother because I'm the grandmother, but it still got to come by me, right?
I was going in the bathroom with, not to cut you off, but my husband laughed about this right now. I go in the bathroom with mine till they 10 or 11 years old. I mean, I'm in the men's bathroom with the door propped open, go in the first stall, wash your hands. I don't care nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care because now it's unisex. So, okay, we all going to be unisex. All of us going in there. All the children, all the grown folks,
I was doing that.
everybody going in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm really going to share this information out, and I hope that people really follow this case. Deborah is really, really good about getting all this information out, but let's not forget that that little happy child that was smiling and waving is now presumed dead.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if he made her drink the antifreeze. I think they said antifreeze, or I didn't even know you could do stuff. That sounds crazy to me. It seems like that's the way to kill a person, not abort a baby. But
Right.
you know,
Yes.
this is
Right.
craziness that's going on. She was what 13 because but she had a birthday about I
September
think,
the 16th. Yeah.
yeah, she had a birthday and she turned 14, and the body is still missing. Now everybody want to know where the body is, but didn't nobody want to know who the man was that was in the house. No disrespect. No disrespect. But I told you guys, I'm gonna start right there. And if I was asked by the best prosecuting attorney in the world, which is Kim Worthy, she said, "Where do you think I should start?" I say, "In that house, in that house
Mm-hmm.
where that man
Yes.
lived, because he had no business in that house. And that means that she even said, Deborah, that the mother knew that the auntie knew he had served 10 years in prison.
And she had children by him as well. Right. Yeah.
Pardon?
And the auntie has what? How many children by him?
I know she has an 11-year-old.
I'm not sure how many,
Okay.
but I think it's a few.
Mm-hmm.
Because the one aunt was saying something about by him having the amount of children that he has by her aunt. I'm like, so I but they didn't say what that amount was, but yeah.
But that's why he was in the house. If he's a parent, they probably couldn't keep him away from his children.
Right.
Yeah, but the other little girl was not his child.
Right. I'm saying the other children in the house were.
But he violated as soon as NaZiyah went in that house. What did he do? Isaiah went in that house. He violated his probation, or whatever you call it, because I don't know if they let you be around your own children or not, but she was not his kid. And
I don't think they can. I think that, and I have to look it up. But once they have that CSC charge, I guess it depends on the degree too, because there's several degrees of CSC.
Yeah,
It's a degree for when they penetrate. It's a degree for improper touching or grooming or something like that. I don't know, but to my understanding or my thought process is, I think once they have that CSC record on their record, I don't think they're allowed to be around any children.
And not only that, not to cut you off, but Jarvis Butts, 2 more people came forth. One was 20 and one is 11 today. When they were under the age of, when one was 2 more girls, they said came forth, and they was under the age of 13 when he assaulted them. And yes, he's penetrating and he's doing other things, because from my understanding, he gave a 4-year-old, was it chlamydia, some kind of sexual transition, what do you call it?
Yeah, STD.
STD, yeah. So my thing is, this is a horrible person. A horrible.
Yeah, somebody definitely dropped the ball.
4 years old. 4. Not 14, not 15, 4.
Someone dropped the ball. He shouldn't even have been out.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been out, period. Right.
One of our friends from Tennessee is on, Deborah. She's a probation and parole officer, and she just stated that you can, yes, they can stay in the home depending on the circumstances. Matilda Bowen,
okay.
She's out of Henderson, Nashville, Tennessee.
Is that Matilda?
Matilda Bowen, yes. She's probation and parole. So I guess
Thank you, Matilda.
Wow.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. But you make a good point, Noni. He probably shouldn't have got out. He probably shouldn't have been out from the first offense. If he did 10 years, then it had to either be some really great proof or more. It could have been more than one victim. From you know what I'm saying? When he did the 10 years prison before, it could have been more than one victim and all of that. And it's probably, they're only bringing charges to him now for these 3 girls, NaZiyah and 2 other girls, one being his own biological child. So that's what I'm saying. Even what they attached to NaZiyah's case, the girl that is 20 years old now is who they're saying he started molesting at age 8 and started penetrating at age 10. So these people are sick. And I want to say this because we got to deal with the recidivism issue when you start talking about people with these prison sentences for certain things. And even it's not to say that people can't be rehabilitated, but part of recovery is relapse. And so when you, as opposed to dealing with drugs, you relapse to drugs. If you're recovering from sexually abusing children, you're going to relapse to sexually abusing children. So that's another thing. That's a whole nother issue too, is the recidivism. Because not to say that people can't be I definitely believe in rehabilitation. However, with certain crimes, I don't know, you know, you got to look at that thing, because these people are sick. They're sick.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, now 4 years
Yes, I
old.
love that we talked about, you all brought up mentoring and being that example for other, for young mothers. Since I moved here from Detroit to Virginia, someone asked me to mentor a young teenager, like 11 or 12, and I kind of shy away, like, do I really have something to offer? But I have to realize that we all have something to offer, and like I said, it's more than one show from this, Deborah. We
Yeah.
talk about our culture, women, self-love, and also to our sisters and brothers in the rap industry. One song I would love to have banned is, if I buy you a drink, I'm gonna take you home tonight. Sometimes it's looking at the rap culture of some of the lyrics, and our children are being programmed. So I agree with Laura and Keisha that good parenting skills come in to monitor what they're listening to, who they with, and just being on top of that. So
Yeah, we got to go
yeah.
back to that kind of stuff. A lot of, I guess, in our generation, parents, well, I don't know. It's a lot to it, because then the government started getting involved and all of these types of things. So, where you couldn't spank your children and and all of these types of things. And,
Deborah, can I please say this? But I don't want us to get it. I think I'm just hearing something different. This is, I am not going to make any excuses for this Jarvis guy. You rape children. We don't have to change the system, because we want protection of these children. We want parents to know that we have to find ways to protect them, but we also want the law to know that this Jarvis Butts, he need people like him need to be monitored closely, and then the women that allow them to come into their home and they know what he has done to children, they need to be. I'm sorry, unfortunately, you need to be held accountable as well.
I
Or
agree.
mental health service, correct? Yeah, mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Laurie. With they need to be held accountable. However, if these women have come from that being their way of life, they don't know anything different. I think Noni touched on it earlier. We have to speak to women in their self-esteem and their self-worth. If the only thing they know is men that take advantage of them, then that's what they're going to lean towards as they get older. That's who they're going to bring home. That's their norm. They don't know any better. I'm not making an excuse for it. For instance, um, my situation of molestation, and my mother was a good mother. She worked all the time, though. She happened to have met a man who tried to meet all of the needs that she couldn't meet, right? Which gave him opportunity and access, right? So that's how it went down. But the minute I told her, it took heaven and hell for her not to put him in a grave in the backyard. You understand?
Well, that's really good, because now I've seen cases right here where we report it, and the mother had to make a decision. Do you want the child to go with Child Protective Services, or do you want to put the man out the house? Unfortunately, she chose for the children to go to Child Protective Services. So yes, that could be some mental health issues going on and all that, but people knew she had mental health issues before Jarvis got in that house. I'm placing the blame where it should be, and that's on Jarvis Butts. He's a lowlife who's molested children. He's taking advantage of children. And trust, the Kim Worthy that I know, he's going to be in a whole lot of trouble when it comes to jail time.
Do you think that he would get any kind of deal if he tell the public where us where her body is at least, or
I would not want him to tell me nothing. That's me. But I hope that she does. I hope she would not. Kim, one thing about Kim, she go for what's right. And I don't think that she would give a hoot about any of that will come out of anything that will come out of his mouth at this point, because they have enough evidence to know that she's dead. Telling where that body is not going to bring that child back alive. It's unfortunate you want closure. Yes, you do. But you still going to you could tell me where the body is, but you still going to get a whole lot of time. More than your age now.
Now, I hope he does the right thing and tell that family where that baby is so they can have closure. But I will say, I hope that they don't offer him a deal to get that information. I will say that. But he, if he cared anything about the child and his twisted whatever, tell them people where that baby at and let them have some closure, so I hope that he does that, I think that is, one of the points that Keisha was making is in terms of the dynamics of the family. I have to totally agree that there has to be some type of normalcy and level of comfortability with this types of behavior, whether it's from the sex offender to the child, in the whole nine. Something is awry there, and one of the aunts even said there needs to be the whole truth needs to come out, because the news reporter asked him, now this is the father's sister. They were estranged from the child for a number of years. But she said emphatically, I'm glad for this part, that they have charged him. She said, but the whole truth, she said, needs to come out. There's a lot more people involved.
Yes.
So, so that leads me to think, were they trafficking this girl? I mean, what in the world is going on here? I think we're going to hear a lot more about this story. I think a lot more is going to come out.
I agree. First of all, probation, like we just saw my friend Matilda that worked for probation and parole. I'm quite sure that they have to monitor these people. They don't just get out and stay out forever.
I don't know. She's saying in Tennessee they wear monitor devices, and so they are aware where they are at all times. I don't know if they do. I don't think he has a monitor.
They didn't say anything about here in Michigan him having a monitor, and if they did, and they knew that children was in the house. Okay, let's even say besides his children or child or children, this little girl was in that house, and she was being molested to the point where the day he killed her, he met her at a hotel. So they had communication at all times, and he was in that house molesting her as well. And I don't know. I have to talk to Matilda on the sideline, I guess, sometimes or whenever, because I want to know 10 years and you got kids and children in the house that's not yours, and you got some that are yours, and you still can keep this predator in the house?
Yeah.
That's not making good sense to me.
I don't think he's supposed to be. And then let me say this too. The day that she came up missing, and when she got off the school bus, she went to the auto repair shop, right where he worked, on Conant or Connor. Was it Conant or Connor? Anyway, she left in the car with him and the coworker. The coworker drove them to some other area, Inkster or wherever it was, and they were seen out there. I believe Jarvis Butts' sister confirmed to the police that she saw her with Jarvis that day. So now my question is, are they, well, I'm sure they got to be talking to that coworker because she left
And
that out in his car with Butts.
the coworker sound like they need a charge also.
Yeah. Did he help him kill her? Do away with the body? You know, there's a lot of questions there.
Crazy. This, it's a lot about to come out of this. They might as well line up.
Yeah.
Just line up because,
Yeah.
first of all, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. And you gave a 4-year-old a sexual transmitted disease. It's nothing I want to even hear. Lock him up. Stop
Yeah.
wasting taxpayers' money and lock this man up and let's move on.
Yeah.
Just because this is insane. And then get the rest. We'll get rid of him and then just get the rest. And if you knew that he was a sex offender and you let that child continue to go to that home or live in that home, you don't think you have accountability? You don't think that you have blood on your hands some kind of way? This is sad. That poor child did not deserve a life like this. She's 14 years old, getting ready probably to go what, first year of high school next year.
Right.
But look what she had to go through. This is a grown man, an adult man that's been to prison for God knows how long. Then you come out and you're doing the same thing. No, that probation officer didn't monitor him well enough, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I want everybody to give their final thoughts, but I agree. I think it's a lot more to the story, a lot more that's going to come out. I think that there is definitely blame, thought on the part of the family. There's, as Keisha explained, the process. There's a whole process that the school should have done when this child was not reporting to school, and so on and so forth. So that's important for people to know. Talking about understanding better about the CPS system. Noni brought up about looking at the age of consent. I had no idea until I looked it up yesterday that it was age 16. Keisha and Lori is saying it was younger than that at some whatever point. So I don't know. I want to look at that some more. So we'll have more conversations about it. I think it's a lot to unpack in this story. They got to take this man through due process. Unfortunately, you can't just lock him up and throw away the key. He's got to go through, he's got to have due process and go through the courts and all of that stuff. So I don't know, but I would like for Lori, I want you to close this out.
Can I give my last comment real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to say, as a community, that if we see young girls and we know that it's not their father or a relative, we should not make it normal that we see a young girl hanging out, with a grown man, and that we have to realize that they are innocent, not that they are with this, they're 13, and it's not normal for them to be hanging out with a 40-something-year-old man. So as a community, I hope that we get more involved and, report it or even approach the brother. What you doing?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Keisha.
A lot of different pathways. And this topic is, I'm very passionate about, especially when it comes to children.
Yeah.
Or young people. But I agree with Ms. Noni. As a community, we need to do better. We need to absolutely do better. One of the things that Ms. Lori was saying about accountability on all parts, not just question the brother. One of my habits is when I see young women, especially when they're around men, I ask them, I'm not stunting the man. I want to ask the baby, are you okay? Are you good? And that's just something that I do because, again, of my own history, again, of me dealing with teenagers in school that, they with somebody to get something to eat. It's a lot of, as Noni was saying, throwaway kids. We are aware of Miss NaZiyah because it is being highlighted, but this stuff is happening every day. Every day is happening. And I think us as a community um, should be more aware, more sensitive, and more protective of our babies.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Deborah, in my closing statement, I would like to say, if it don't feel right, if it don't look right, if you're uncomfortable with it, if you have to continue to turn your head to keep looking, I see no harm in just asking the police to do a welfare check. If it's at a hotel or if it's in a store where you see the girl may not look comfortable and you keep looking, she's fidgety, she's whatever, just not a comfortable look on her face. There is nothing wrong with asking somebody in the store, have you seen this child in here before with that person? We have to get involved, or it's going to be so many more children like this little Miss Harris.
Yeah.
She should not be somewhere decaying. She should be looking forward to thriving in life, excelling in life. So if you see it, it's not right, it don't look right, it don't feel right, do something about it. You don't have to go up to the person. You can, okay, snap a license plate.
Yeah.
Everybody got a hookup on who you can give a license plate to. We know that. Don't just go home with that worry on your mind. Because if it bothers you that much, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. You shouldn't see a 13-year-old girl walking in a hotel room in a school uniform with a man, twice her age and plus some. Let's get involved and stay involved. And I just beg of this. I beg that people do this. Stay involved.
Thank you.
Stay involved, folks. Thank you so much. I'm going to post some resources on our community wall. There's one great organization. If you know young people that are homeless, we have a whole problem with homeless teenagers here in the state of Michigan. And there's a wonderful organization called the Covenant House. They will take them in, shelter them, protect them. Those that are running away from trafficking, there's a big trafficking issue here in Detroit. And so these kids need our help. They don't need our criticism and our judgment. They need our help.
Absolutely.
And as it has been so eloquently put tonight, stop dressing your children and making them mini me's. It's not cute because there are sick people out here that they just not right in the head. Don't put your child in that position. Please don't do it. And then in terms of parenting skills, the kids don't come with handbooks and manuals. If you need help with your child, reach out to someone and get the help that you need to help you develop the skills and the appropriate coping mechanisms and things like that to help you raise your child. Is not nothing to be ashamed of. People, um, we need help with various different things through life, and get it. If you need the help, get it. Ask for it, and I promise you, at some point, someone will reach back and assist you in these areas, but make it about the children. This is so important. Um, those that we protect these kids. That is the name of the game. No one protected little NaZiyah Harris. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little emotional. Nobody protected this little girl.
Nope.
She didn't have parents. She was estranged from her father. Her mother was killed, and no one protected her.
That's right.
And it's just a shame
Yeah.
that they have to fight through life, her little short life, and this monster got a hold to her. And that's what happens.
Hmm.
So protect our kids, protect them. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing your stories and your expertise and all of that stuff. I didn't mean for
That's
I
okay. It's
didn't
reality. It's reality. We see it every day and it hurts. And it's more that
it
we have to keep
does.
in mind, it's more than Nigeria that's not being protected. So Deborah, I understand your passion. We see it. We cry here
Yeah.
at least once a week. We're crying. We're in tears about things. So it just shows that your heart is full and that we need to get out here and make it happen.
We
Protect
need to
these
make it
children.
happen.
And thank you, Deborah, for shouting out Covenant House. When I was a teenage sex trafficking victim, I lived at Covenant House in New York.
Oh
So thank you
wow.
for giving them a shout out. That is a
Yes.
safe space for young people to go to.
Yes, I definitely will be posting their information and any other information that you guys are aware of that is a safe haven for young people. You'll be surprised. There's a lot of homeless teenagers out here. Well, that's how they end up in prostitution and all of that kind of stuff. So sometimes we know stuff from our head, but we don't really process it or something. So, but at any rate, yeah, it's a really good organization. I'm definitely going to be putting that on the community wall here on the YouTube channel and as well on the website. Thank you so much, Keisha Lewis, DPS professional, 28 years, Noni Love Child, author, poet, entrepreneur, and human rights activist. And of course, my dear sister, Lori Clark Horton.
Thank you.
He is a phenomenal community leader, owner of the LACC Child Care Academy here in Detroit. And I appreciate you guys so much for taking your time. And I know that all of you are extremely busy women and sharing your thoughts and on this story, this very important story. Do we have anything else? Anybody? Any announcements? Any events coming up? Anything?
Deborah, I did want to mention, I just got news that, trafficking is happening with boys too. And I understand that Christ Child House is a very safe place for boys.
Okay. Christ Child House. I'll look it up and post it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. All right, everybody. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Matilda is saying thank you. Who else is this? Ivory Smith. I'm trying to chat. Jody Horton says amen. And Jody says, thank you, ladies. So I think I got all of our comments or whatever. And thank you so much, Matilda Brown, for sharing your expertise with us as well. All right. So we'll get together again. Definitely more to talk about on this case of little NaZiyah Harris. Everybody have a good night. Lions game is on, y'all. So
time to go.
We're out of here. Good night, everybody. Enjoy more of our videos on the Community Advocate Network channel. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to advertise your service, special announcement, or event, you may contact us at the Community Advocate Network at gmail.com. For community resources or services, visit our website at www.canmichigan.com.